as Mike mentioned, I'm the Deputy Chief Executive at Department of Premier and Cabinet with responsibility for population growth, among other things. And so what I want to do today, this speech is going to be a bit of an accordion, right? So we're going to go out to Australia, in to South Australia, and in again to regions, so that we can tell you what we've done, tell you what we've learnt, and help you apply that to how regions can better support their growth. So the first thing that I am very proud of, South Australia has been named in the ComSec State of the State report for several reports in a row now as leading on relative population growth. What does that mean? It doesn't mean we've got the most people. It's like a most improved prize. So South Australia has, for the first time in decades, really lifted our rate of population growth to be competitive with the national average. And I want to talk to you about how we did that and what we've learnt in doing that. What I was going to show you was a graph of how we've improved our net interstate migration. So net interstate migration is the people that move within Australia. So for decades, South Australia historically lost people interstate, more people than we gained. So we were typically losing about 5,000 people a year. Since it actually started a little bit before COVID shut down, but since 2020, we have been able to turn that story around. We are now net attractors of people. It's good times, the slide deck. It's okay, I'll keep talking. So we're now net attractors of people, and I want to talk you through that being a very deliberate government strategy and how we've gone about that and the ways in which you might be able to do that for your regions. And a bit like Mayor Dickerson, I couldn't agree more that it's not just build it and they will come doesn't work, it's actually the other way around. So the evidence is that investment and capital follows people. You have to get the people first. How do you get the people? So we start with, you have to have a great offer, right? You have to offer them something that they're not going to get elsewhere. So you have to have a great offer, but you have to have an offer that actually responds to the things that people are looking for when they're thinking about moving. So the first thing to note in that is a job is not enough. And for a lot of places, a job isn't even the starting point. So for South Australia, University of Queensland research and our own research supports this. For South Australia, we are a destination first location. That means that people choose South Australia as a place they want to live and then go about getting, oh, it's got a picture. Amazing. Love your work, Nathan. Thank you. And then go about getting a job here. So they're actually moving here without a job sometimes, but they're certainly choosing South Australia as a location before they go about. Keep going forward with this one? Yep, great, thank you. So who are the types of people that might move into your regions? This I have pulled from the Regional Australia Institute Big Movers report that Liz was talking about just before. And it shows you that there are people who are interested into moving into all sorts of your regions, but you're going to need to talk to them about the factors that are actually motivating that move. So what does that look like for regions? What does a great offer look like in terms of lifestyle? So the first thing is lifestyle matters. So we know that because we're a destination first location, people are looking for balance and they're looking for a life that aligns with their values. And I'll talk a bit more about values later. But they're looking for a complete offering as well. So that includes childcare, transport and service quality. So what do I mean by service quality? They want good schools and good hospitals. And if you've got good schools and good hospitals, then you should be shouting that from the rooftops, because that is a thing that people don't appreciate is as available and the level of quality that it is in regional South Australia. But it's also about what happens when you're not at work, right? So for a long time we've said you should move to the regions, we've got heaps of jobs. Great. But what are you doing when you're not at work, and how are you going to be embraced by the community? So one of the things that I have responsibility for now is country arts, and that's an installation from Country Arts there. But there has to be unique things that vary as part of your cultural offering to attract people as part of a great offer. And a great offer also has to be for the people you've already got. So I want to shout out to UniSA as one of our unis with a regional presence, but also Uni Hubs as being actually really transformational in being able to keep young people in their regions. But it's not enough to have a great offer, it has to be different from your competition. Why move to your region and not somewhere else? And to do that, you have to have a think about who you are. And I don't mean what you have, I mean who you are. So what are the values that are really important in your region? How is Tatiara different from Tintinara, Maiponga different from Maipolonga, right? And you need to really tell that story about the types of people that you're looking for. So you have to know who your competition is and know where your people are. And I avoided writing size matters, but I'll say it anyway. So a bit like Mayor Dickinson and the Evo cities, it's not going to be enough for you to go out as one town or one local council area. And this is where the excellent RDA arrangement that we have in South Australia, where it's genuinely a tripartite agreement between federal, state and local government, is to your advantage. Aggregate up to an RDA size as part of your attraction to people. You've also got to have a target audience. You've got to know who you're trying to get and where they are now and how convertible they might be. So for South Australia, our target audience is 20 to 40-year-olds. And we know that because they were the ones who were leaving. And we also knew that because that's the time of age at which people are most likely to move. But we've gone deeper than that for our work that looks at the whole of state. We know specifically who they are and where they are. They're 24 to 35. They live within 10 kilometres of a CBD, and they're more likely to move to South Australia if they've visited twice. And they're more likely to want to move if they're in one of our key industries. So we did that by asking the people that we already had that were in that target audience what was attractive about South Australia as a place to them. So we got together 40 people with a mix of ties to South Australia that were in that 20 to 40-year-old age range and said, what is it that you value about this place? What is the great offer and how is it different from our competition? There's no point in designing your target audience and then never speaking to them. So what does that mean for regions, for your target audiences? So there are a few really interesting facts about people who move to regions. First is people who move stay. So again, the RAI Big Movers report supports the idea that people that move into regional communities, whether from overseas or from a metro area, will stay. We know that regional areas are attractive to overseas migrants and attractive to millennials. And we know that they're most attractive to people who grew up in a regional area, which is why I've written regional for life. So they might not end up living in the same regional area that they grew up in, but are more open to living in a regional area if that's how they were raised. Right, so you've got a great offer, you know you're different from other places, you know who you need to talk to. They have to be aware you exist. So this goes a little bit to the presentation we had earlier from Dubbo. So we've, in South Australia, in looking at how we attract people from other states and territories, been challenged by this in the same way that South Australia's regions are a bit challenged about some misperceptions about what goes on and what we have to offer. So people knew that South Australia had a great outdoors, bigger and cheaper houses, and a pretty relaxed lifestyle. But they thought that we were a cultural wasteland with no nightlife, a third the size of Perth, and oddly enough, some people in the eastern states think we don't have beaches. And so it's not enough to have all these great things if no one is aware of how good your offer is. So we have spent some time on a campaign called New State of Mind, which predominantly runs with our target market interstate, to tell this value story about the types of people that we want and how they can have a great life here in South Australia. And a bit like Mayor Dickinson's campaign, it's actually been really effective in changing people's openness to moving to South Australia, and we're starting to see the long lag of some of that work as well. So what does that mean for regions? The first is the people you might want to move to your regions are already visiting your regions, right? They come as tourists. So what are you doing when they're there as part of a visitation, as part of a tourism offering, to start to think about converting them into people who might want to move? And how are you going about building awareness of exactly your region and what you have to offer? So, you've got a great offer. It's different from your peers. You've got a target market. You've got marketing. And the beauty of having marketing with a really tight target market is you don't need to spend very much if you know exactly who you're talking to and where they are. You can target them online. Is you have to make it easy for them to want to move to your area. So what that looks like at a state level is things like, and I'm giving you a little sneak peek of a product that hasn't quite launched yet, so shh. But we'll be launching an online welcome pack so that people who are new to South Australia can start to understand everything that we have to offer. Settlement services, so that people, when they come to your communities, know who to go to, where to find all the right services. Inbound visits. So there's been a huge amount of success in Australia and overseas in identifying people who might want to move and bring them on a look-see. There's a literal program called Look-See New Zealand, where they fly 83 people into New Zealand, get them to meet all the employers, and then they more or less all move there. And converting tourists. So because we know that people who visit South Australia twice are more likely to move, our work we've taken into various tourist activities. So we had an activation at Womadelaide, because we know that about half the people that attend Womadelaide are tourists coming from interstate, and we want to talk to them while they're here and having a great time. So what does that mean for you guys in terms of how you can convert those people who were interested? Bring them into your communities and show them what's on offer. So there's been a tremendous success with Study Adelaide, busing international students in partnership with RDAs into your regions, connecting them with employers, showing them what the lifestyle looks like, and translating that into young people moving into a region that they weren't aware of before, because they know that there's opportunities there for them and that they'll be well supported. Concierge services are one of the things that nationally and internationally the data shows really helps people settle and stick. Because there's no good to have people move in if they're miserable after 12 months and want to leave. So what's a concierge service? We mean like literally a friendly face that you can call on to say, I don't understand how to. How do I get a Medicare card? How do I enrol my child at school? So the broad lessons in terms of applying what we've learnt so far are that you need a clear identity about what your place is offering that's values-based. So who are you about, and what kind of people are you looking for? Get super specific about who you're attracting and where they are now. So a really interesting lesson here is Tasmania for a long time was lost young people, just like we used to do as well, and was convinced that the young people that left all went to Melbourne. So they thought, if we target Melbourne, we'll get some of them back. That's not where their people were. The people who were interested in moving to Tasmania were living a very kind of Tasmanian lifestyle in the New South Wales Blue Mountains. So finding the target audience that aligns with what you're offering. So in Tasmania's case, it was about being a bit arty, a bit greeny, a bit disruptive, Find where the people that align with your community's values are. Make sure you're offering them more than a job. Make sure you're offering them events and sports and cultural activities, and engage your community in this process. So the amazing thing about regional South Australia is I think you're a bit ahead of the game in terms of the rest of the South Australian population about appreciating how important it's going to be to bring new people into your community to help them grow and remain viable. And support settlement so that when people arrive here from overseas, they're not left to their own devices. That's it from me. Thank you.